Welcome, Dr. Sophocles. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And sorry, my name is a bit of a mouthful. Um, but I'm really looking forward to hearing about what you're doing and seeing how we can have a vibrant conversation today about the intersection between what you and I are doing and how that benefits the people listening to us.
Yes, it's life-changing. It's one of those things, once you know, you know. So tell us quickly, I know that we're in a bit of a time crunch today and you are coming back for a future interview, but tell us quickly about your journey from board certified OB-GYN to menopause expert and being an advocate for women's sexual health, especially at this time in midlife.
Yeah, it sort of happened very organically. I had what I thought was excellent OBGYN training and how to deliver babies and do surgeries. And I started practicing in private practice outside of Philadelphia, western suburbs called the Main Line. And I felt really confident. And I was perfectly fine doing the things I'd been trained to do. I wasn't aware that my super high end medical training had completely missed menopause training or sexual health training. So, I trained with world famous people, and that gave me this false sense of I can care for women at any age. And then I started seeing patients in their 40s and 50s, and they were asking me about joint stiffness and hair loss and frozen shoulder and palpitations and anxiety and not being able to remember words. And I was so inept, really. I thought, boy, I guess they need an orthopedic surgeon, a neurologist, a dermatologist, and then I just started realizing, they're coming to me for these answers and I can't provide them. I need to go figure this out. So I got involved very early in what was then called the North American Menopause Society. Now we just call it the Menopause Society. And that was life changing because I got to learn how much I didn't know, and then got to become one of the early sort of advocates for two things: for making women aware of menopause and that they have to advocate for themselves, and making doctors aware that, hey, we are not getting enough training in this. You have to go seek this out for yourself. And this is still really part of my mission. I'd say my mission is to close the gendered healthcare gap, which is globally valued at about $1 trillion. $1 trillion could be pumped into economies if we just allow women to get proper care. They can stay in their jobs, they can stay at work, they can put money into economies. That's sort of a different topic. But
Mhm.
I want women to have equal research because we're underfunded in our research for women's health issues. I want women themselves to know what they don't know and to know how to advocate for themselves. So I had to find this out myself, how I wasn't serving my patients, then go get educated, then from there realize it wasn't just enough for me to know menopause. I had to spread the word to women and to medical institutions. So that's where the TED Talk idea came in, as a way to reach more people globally.
Oh, that's awesome. And 1.2 million views so far. That's you're having a great impact. Now, along those lines, because we don't know pre-midlife, we have no idea what's going to hit us. And our generation, I'm speaking for myself, but I have a feeling you might agree. Our moms were not open about the struggles they had in menopause. So we came into we flew into this kind of blind. So I want
Yes.
to mention something on your website. You mentioned a very poignant story about a patient who came in to see you. She was ashamed, confused, and she said, "I'm broken. My
Yeah.
vagina is broken. It doesn't work anymore." And I felt such a twinge of pain for her. You go on to say, like many women, she thought menopause just meant the end of periods and maybe some hot flashes. She didn't know that a broken vagina was part of this journey and that it's fixable. It simply was the result of an estrogen deficiency, which comes in midlife. And so you go on to say, you want to help women who you see are ashamed. They think they're letting their partner down because they can no longer have sex as they used to in a penetrative way. They feel embarrassed. They don't know what to do.
Right, right.
Tell me how you help women.
So, so I just to riff off of what we were talking about before, I thought I'm going to learn all about menopause and help women with all these menopause symptoms. And I can, and that's great. But within that, I found the most shameful and still under the radar part is the sexual fallout. And that's because people don't link menopause to sexual issues
Mhm.
and to loss of libido and painful intercourse. You would think it seems obvious to you and I, but to most women, they just think it's them. They just think something's wrong down there. They
Mhm.
also don't realize that vaginal estrogen, which is probably the easiest and most efficient and effective and safe way to regenerate the vaginal tissue and make everything healthy down there, is not the same as systemic HRT. And it doesn't have the same risk profile. And it's widely available and it's been around for over 50 years. So, why the medical community has failed to educate doctors that they should be offering this and why women are failing to get it is sort of a longer story, but a little bit relates to our unfounded fear of estrogen, the fear that any estrogen will cause cancer, which is not true. But the also linkage of vaginal estrogen and the fears around, I mean, systemic estrogen and the fears around that to vaginal estrogen. In other words, people assume if I can't take systemic estrogen, or if I'm afraid of it, then I guess I can't take any estrogen. And that's not true. Pretty much everyone, there's almost no one that can't safely use estrogen in the vagina to make things juicy and elastic and happy again. It takes about 3 months because you have to rebuild cells and blood vessels and collagen, but it's very, very safe and very, very effective. So that's the number one thing and way we help. We also have vaginal testosterone or a cousin of testosterone called prosterone. It's also a hormone. It also works only locally in the vagina, so it doesn't go into your bloodstream. And it's also very effective. And then there are sort of two other options in medicine that we use. It doesn't mean there aren't over the counter things, there are, and I'll get to those in a sec. But the four options to really make new cells that a nurse practitioner or PA or doctor could offer you are vaginal estrogen, vaginal testosterone, marketed as prosterone. Number three is an oral medication, also not a hormone, but something that turns on estrogen receptors down there in the bladder and vagina and creates new estrogen just there. So that's kind of cool. And many people don't know about it. It's called ospemifene, or the brand is called Osphena, Osphena. It's a once a day pill. It's very safe and it's very effective. It also makes bones stronger. So you get free osteoporosis help whether you want it or not. And so that's kind of cool. And then the last way to actually make new cells in the vagina is not a medication at all. We use a carbon dioxide laser. It was invented in Italy in 2008. Because I was living in Italy, I was lucky enough to be, just by dumb luck, the first real OBGYN in the country to learn about it. So I helped bring it to America. It's FDA approved to be used to regenerate cells. And it's not perfect. None of the meds are perfect, but it's pretty darn good. I'd say in my office, about 90% of patients who we treat the vagina with this laser have new blood vessels, new collagen, and are just super happy. So those are the medical ways we can help the sexual fallout of menopause. There are over-the-counter vaginal moisturizers that don't make new cells, but they make it feel moist. That's wonderful. And then there's lube, which you use during your fun. So there's
Yeah.
lots to do. You just need to find a clinician or an influencer or a follower or someone who really understands this and learn, teachers, and get educated so that you don't have to suffer.
Yeah. A part of this conversation that I want to take a step back. when this all starts to happen to women in midlife, that first the vaginal dryness hits, then vaginal atrophy can set in, and you don't know what's happening. You just
Right.
realize it's not working anymore. Like not at all. Like you feel like you've
And
got
you feel ashamed, you feel embarrassed. And this is because our society says part of not aging is to stay sexy and sexually functional. And
right.
that's we can't escape that. That's hundreds of years, thousands, that women have been sort of put into a role of part of your worth is your sexual function and vibrancy and desirability and, you know, to men. That's a whole other topic of sort of the patriarchy and whatever. But I know, you and I are not going to fix that in a podcast episode. But that's what propelled me to write this book, was to help to look at the factors and forces that affect how we as women walk into a bedroom. What makes us feel shameful? What gives us pleasure? Why don't we advocate for our own pleasure enough? And how
Mhm.
can we do that? How can we reclaim our pleasure? And how can we design sex for us in midlife? Because it doesn't have to be only focused on penetrative sex and orgasm. And I think that should be a refresher and a sigh of relief to a lot of women.
I know it is. And when you compound the other factors that are coming into play in our 40s and 50s at the same time, not only do we have like our sexual function is not what it used to be, and it's not what we think it should be. So now we attach shame,
Yeah,
embarrassment to that. Like we're doing something wrong, although it's a health issue. But then you add on the pressures of midlife, possibly weight gain. We're definitely aging, so things look different in the mirror. It's a whole load of crap that
it
we're
is. And
carrying
it
around.
undermines our feeling of joy, and it undermines our self esteem because we do live in a very mirror focused society. Oh my God, a wrinkle. Oh my God, my neighbor got Botox and she looks
Yes,
better than me. These are
yes.
things that shouldn't bother us, but they do. We're only human. And so it's really hard for women. And remember, a lot of us are in a sandwich generation. We're caring for kids and teens and their problems. At the same time, we're dealing with aging parents,
Yeah.
possibly health issues of our own or our spouse. So it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And part of the book looks at mindfulness and ways to come to a bedroom and leave all that pressure behind and really be in the moment. I think that's really important, but it's not easy to do. Not everyone can just meditate before sex and be great. It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. There's an old book, you may have heard of it, called Women Are Like Spaghetti and Men Are Like Waffles, or maybe it's the other way around. But the
But
point is
I
that
like it.
as women, we are just like, we're doing all the things, the spaghetti, we're in all of the noodles on the plate at one time. And men have these nice waffle compartments that they can
Yeah,
compartmentalize. So you head into the bedroom, the guy is single-minded. I'm in the
he
bedroom,
is.
right?
They're excellent at it. Yeah.
They're, yeah, and that is a gift. But women think, oh my gosh, the dog is barking. Is that someone at the door? When does the kid get home from school? This other one's having this problem with this friend. I feel fat. Oh my gosh, I looked in the mirror.
Yeah. My kid's failing calculus and my mom. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it just all goes. And so I appreciate the service you're bringing to women by bringing the spotlight on this and saying, whoa, let's take a step back.
Yeah, so
What we can
I
do.
have a suggestion for a book that a colleague of mine wrote about mindfulness in sex, and her name is Lori Brotto, Brotto,
Okay.
and she really is a very respected clinician. But her book has a little workbook, which I think is always fun. I'm kind of a nerd. Like I want someone to kind of tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's really looking at mindfulness and sex and how to take the intrusive thoughts and push them away. And then another kind of, Zen master is John Kabat-Zinn, Jonkabet-Zinn. He's sort of the master of mindfulness. And while he doesn't focus on menopause or women, some people really appreciate just learning from him how to bring mindfulness into your life. Because remember, you can use it for eating. You can use it so that when you sit down to eat, you're mindful about how and what you eat. It's not that different than when you go to a bedroom and have sex, to be mindful, to be intentional. And so those are kind of two good references. And actually, there's a guy in Princeton who does these beautiful mindfulness eating courses, which I'd love to send you his name. They're very inexpensive and very powerful. And yeah, it's pretty neat.
If you send them, I'll put the links in the show notes for all of this so people will have access to it.
Yeah.
You bring up a point about mindfulness is whether it's in the bedroom or at the dining room table or sitting and enjoying a cup of coffee, it's about staying right now in the present.
Yeah.
I'm trying to focus on that. It's definitely not my forte for sure, but I'm trying to focus on it because we find ourselves so often in the past. This happened and I feel like I still need to fix it or deal with it, and or in the
Yeah.
future thinking, what if this happens or maybe this will be,
Yeah.
and we're not just settling into right now. This is where happiness and joy are found, are right this minute.
Yeah, I think a little bit too is that you're right. We focus on how should I should have answered that email better. I would have gotten the job. I should have this, I should have that. And what if, and being in the moment does allow us to be in a funny way. We live in a productive society, right? We got to multitask and be productive. And part of enjoying sex is actually saying, first of all, this is a form of productivity because it's bringing me joy and health. We know there are health benefits to
Mhm.
staying sexually active, true health benefits.
Mm.
But it's also about saying I don't need to be productive in the traditional ways I'm usually productive. I can take my phone out of the bedroom. Believe it or not, that's an incredibly hard thing for people to do. There's a study that showed that this is crazy, and I bet it's even underreported. 35% of couples check their phone immediately after they climax, immediately after sex.
Oh,
35%. 10% of people look at their phone during sex. During sex.
you're kidding.
No, isn't that crazy? And that makes me really sort of sad, angry, and like I want to shake those people and say, guys, on what planet are you trying to have? Because no one's trying to have bad sex, right? There's no one that says, I'd like to have mediocre sex today. People want to have good sex. If you want to have good sex and you're going to spend the time and invest the investment in the relationship or investment in the Airbnb you rented for a getaway or the cruise or the lingerie or whatever it is, why on earth and ambush your sex by bringing your phone into the bedroom?
Great.
So, like, that's the easiest win I can possibly give anyone. It costs nothing. And
Yeah.
if you tell me, well, I have to charge it and charge my phone, I get that. I have to charge my phone too. But don't tell me there's no plug and no ability to move a charger into the bathroom or the hallway.
Right.
Just, I don't buy it. And don't tell me it's because, well, I could get a text from my kid. That's true, you could. And the likelihood that you will get a life saving, life threatening text from your kid in that 10 minutes to 1 hour is so slim. It just is. So.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. And I have not heard those statistics. They're disturbing.
Yeah,
For
and
those,
I'm telling you, I bet they're underreported. I bet they're
right,
underreported.
right. I bet you're right. Some people would be like, there's no way I'm reporting. I check my phone.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. If my partner found out, he'd kill me. So I think there's room for improvement, and I think it's just about thinking about what do we want and can joy be for us? And I don't have to tell you that as women of a certain age, especially, we own so much of others. I'm worried about my girlfriend's divorce. I'm worried about my mom's health issue. I'm worried about my kid's new job. Men, like you said, are so good at saying, I worry about all those too, but I'm not going to worry while I'm in the bedroom. And I just think women need to give themselves grace to say, I I I I can't keep all of it on my shoulders all the time. I
Mhm.
can worry, I can cook for others, I can make phone calls to help others. That's it, that if that's in your DNA, that's in your DNA. I'm guilty of it. I can't help myself. But can I take those thoughts and view them as little, I don't know, you ever see in a pond how there can be muck like leaves and grass swirling on the top? Take them all like that and let them drift away. Let them go away for a while so you can just be in some nice clean clear water. That's my personal. I just shared my personal how I do it, but everyone finds their own version.
I like that visual. It's very inviting and welcoming, and also it promotes stillness, which I appreciate. I believe I didn't even know our conversation would go in this direction. I thought we would be talking far more along the lines of medical, and I do want to ask you a couple questions about
Yeah.
that. But I do, based on what we're just talking about, and to your point, I believe boundaries comes in just self boundaries and keeping our commitments to ourselves, saying, I'm going to make this boundary, and it's just for myself to say, I'm not bringing these things into the bedroom or into any time that I need peace, anytime that I need to just separate myself, bedroom, or it could be a quiet time, or it could be something else. But just,
Well, let's also remember that in menopause, so much of the brain is affected by estrogen, and the brain is our biggest sex organ. And it's a lot to expect that a woman can be assaulted with a sudden, withdrawal of estrogen. Her brain is having massive, massive changes. I can send you, you know, MRI photos where it's hard to believe how massive the changes are in the brain, and that will be able to just be unchanged in the bedroom. It's very hard to not have effects on libido. It's very hard to push away a lot of the things that are crowding in our brain. It's very hard to stay focused. There's a lot of overlap between ADD and menopause and perimenopause brain changes. And I have many patients that say, I think I have ADD, but I didn't know it till now. Or is it menopause? And the answer is, it could be both. Couldn't it be both? So, or just one or the other. The point is, we have to give ourselves grace that there's a lot of changes happening, and this is where either hormones can help, systemic HRT. When we give the brain back that estrogen, it can function in a memory way and a planning way and all kinds of life function ways. So you can be better in the classroom or the boardroom or the OR, wherever you work. But believe it or not, you can also be better in the bedroom if your brain function is better. And actually, there's a lot of crapping on doctors who are like, oh, just give women antidepressants, like, and they feel very dismissed and brush off, and I get that. But believe it or not, antidepressants work in a very good way to help us maintain serotonin and norepinephrine. I think of it like a faucet, and then the faucet gets abruptly turned almost off. So you just have a drip, and it's not enough for us to function. So sometimes where we are right now, we do need a little help to have that faucet have a gentle little steady stream of those really important neurochemicals that let us relax, let us be engaged, let us focus, let us live how we used to live.
Mm.
So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. It's easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've been guilty as charged because I have had women come into my office and say, I'm not anxious, I'm not depressed, but I have X, Y, and Z, and it's driving me crazy. And so that maybe is a different situation. But let's talk about how estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, even in women, go beyond these symptoms of menopause and midlife that we're talking about. What are some of the other longer term health benefits that women
yeah.
would benefit to know about?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I tell patients, there are two reasons to give yourself back the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone that your body is no longer making. One is to control symptoms so that you can think clearly and work at your job and run a household and whatever you're doing in your life, prepare for your marathon and not have frozen shoulder and not have memory lapse and not have, a lot of the symptoms that are bothering you. But the second reason is long-term health benefits. We know that women who use HRT, or now we really call it HT, hormone therapy, have reduced cancer risk. They have less cancer. And I'm talking many cancers, not just breast cancer. They have a 40% reduced risk of colon cancer. Nobody even talks about that. And that's a crazy common cancer. They have reduced heart disease and death from heart failure. Nobody talks about heart failure in their 50s. That's a disease of people in their 80s. Well, let me tell you, when you're 80, you're going to wish you had had that conversation. They have
Yeah.
reduced mortality from the cancers they do get. The benefits are so stunning and so dramatic that I think if we can get more menopause trained clinicians out there, they're not enough, and
Yeah.
we can get insurance companies to pay for menopause consults. I feel like every woman, and not even when they're menopausal, before that, like let's say 45, should
Mhm.
have a mandatory hour sit down and understand all these benefits so that you can say, gee, what do I want at 85? I don't know about you. I want to be on a stand-up paddleboard paddling with my grandkids, and my grandkids saying, "Wow, you are the coolest, most fit grandma ever, and you're sharp and smart." I
Yes.
mean, that's my little fantasy. Maybe that's TMI. But to get there, I know what my life, how normal aging will happen. And I know that will be a little more challenging. I know that if I can use estrogen and testosterone, and I'm leaving progesterone out for 1 second, that it will help my bones, my brain, and my heart, if nothing else, to stay functional.
Mhm.
Progesterone, you don't necessarily need it for those benefits. You need progesterone if you have a uterus to protect the uterus, because estrogen has good effects on many, many parts of the body. But on the uterus, if we give it after menopause, it just causes growth of tissue that's unregulated. So we need the yin to the yang. We need the progesterone to limit that growth and not potentially cause harm in the uterus. So I want to be fair about that, and that HRT, if you have a uterus, must include progesterone.
So important for everyone to hear that and to know that, depending on who they see. Some clinicians and healthcare providers are far more knowledgeable, like you, than others. And so to be your own best advocate heading into an appointment, you need to know that if someone recommends estrogen,
They
systemic.
must recommend progesterone if you have a uterus, and they should preemptively bring up testosterone. They should inform you that we believe, experts believe, that it has tremendous health benefits, but there is no FDA approved testosterone for women yet in America. So if you want testosterone, you either have to use the male formulations at 1/10 of the dose, kind of tricky to do, but you can do it, or
Mhm.
you have testosterone made from a very well respected compounded pharmacy, and you apply it on the upper thigh, and you'll get some testosterone benefits. I think the benefits of testosterone are understudied. So we don't really, we're not able to say, put our hand on our heart and say, yes, for sure, these are the benefits, because we don't have the beautiful data to prove it. But those of us who've used it, I've used it for 15 years in my patients, and my friend Kelly Casperson is a podcaster who uses it, and we know because we see the incredible benefits from it. So we're just not caught up yet in the research to support it so that it can be FDA approved, but we'll get there. And by the way, if you're listening and your provider poo-poos this or says, I think you could get cancer, or says, I don't really use it, that's okay. Be polite and exit, and do not go back there. There are a lot of physicians who simply haven't had the training. It's not their fault. They're not comfortable. But
Thank you.
find someone. You can go to menopause.org, put in your zip code, and you can find someone who can help you. Or you can go on Mary Claire Haver's website. She's the podcast, the author, and really menopause expert that is in my group of my gang. We call ourselves the Menopause, and she is wonderfully, wonderfully open about taking people who are good at this field and putting them on her website so her followers can find them.
That is a gift right there.
It is a
Worth the
gift.
price of admission. Just anecdotally, I have been on BHRT, so bioidentical, for our listeners, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for about a year and a half, including testosterone cream
Good.
compounded, and it has been a life changer.
Good.
Absolutely a
Good
life.
to hear. Let me make a quick clarification that bioidentical, what that means. It means the chemical structure of what you're taking is exactly the same thing that your body used to make. So estradiol is bioidentical estrogen.
Mhm.
Estrone and estriol are also bioidentical estrogens, but some estrogens, like in birth control pills, are not bioidentical. That doesn't mean they don't work. It doesn't even mean they're dangerous.
Mhm.
Bioidentical, we hope, we think is safer because it's more natural. But the important thing is it's made by all the big pharma companies, which seems weird. Like 20 years ago, the only way to get bioidentical was to have somebody mix it up in some troche or some cream. That's not true anymore. If you get estradiol that's made from big pharma at your local pharmacy, it is bioidentical, which is, I think, an important change or progress, really.
For sure. And it also provides peace of mind. So
Yes,
people,
because they're well studied. They have to be well studied.
and if you're going to your physician and that person is offering this and ordering it, you can have peace of mind knowing, oh, it's good, it's okay. This is
It's
going,
safe. You don't
yes,
you
it's
don't have
safe.
to go. I'm nothing negative about functional medicine or anything like that, but you don't have to go to a functional medicine doctor to get bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. You can go to a Western trained physician and they can prescribe stuff that is available at a pharmacy and is covered by your insurance. You don't
Ooh,
need.
that is a big step in the right direction because it's
Yeah, it's an
expensive out of
evolution.
pocket, for
Yeah,
sure.
so you don't have to go out of pocket. The only thing you still have to go out of pocket for is testosterone. And you should not be fooled into going somewhere where you need lots and lots of blood work either. We
Mhm.
treat symptoms and we treat preventive care. We don't treat numbers. So if someone is making you get blood work over and over, they may be having a financial benefit to that. And